Okay, to our next story. You know, the phrase, when a legend dies, evokes a sense of finality and the passing of an era. You know, the outgone week has seen the passing of very notable personalities in our country. So apart from former Minister Professor Aminu, Jibril Aminu, and former Chief Justice of Nigeria, Mohammed Idris, the passage of Commonwealth's boxing legend Obisia Golden Gloves Nwapa and high life heavyweight Mike Ejeagha have been announced. President Bola Tinubu, beg your pardon, mourns the two proud sons of Nigeria and pledges a lasting honor. Yeah, BK Nwapa, 75, Ejeagha, 95.
20 years between.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I'm happy for one thing. Ejeagha went into his grave a happy man.
Okay.
A celebrated man. Because when that comedian,
Brain
Jota decided to use his music, you know, to create a skit. Yes. The whole world was, the attention of the whole world was drawn to that song.
Yes.
A song that the man had done decades ago.
Yeah, yeah.
And everybody began to play that music. You know, it came with an accompanying elephant dance. People were doing it. We even saw the governor of Anambra State, Professor Soludo. He also did that dance. You know? So, and the governor of Enugu State, Peter Mba, decided to honor him and promised, he even decided to fix the road leading to his house.
And named it after him.
You know? So that's what I'm saying. He went into his grave a happy man. I saw a picture of him smiling, and I'm saying, oh, God, thank you for giving this man a reason to smile once again. And he smiled into his grave. A happy man, a fulfilled man. He was noted for singing philosophical songs, not the lyrically empty songs that people sing today and say they are great musicians, and they don't want us to talk about it. You know, songs that people like Mike Ejeagha sang will live for the rest of time.
Succeed us.
People will go back and continue to play them. Obisia Nwapa, I grew up to know him as one of the most talented boxers to come out of Nigeria. In fact, I remember in those days when we read newspapers and we pick some words. The word southpaw was used to describe Obisia Nwapa because of his predominantly good left jab.
Lefty.
So I went and checked the meaning. So it meant, okay, a left-hander. He was very good. He had footwork. He had hand speed. He was such a good boxer. Unfortunately, you know, and he won the All African Games gold, the one that we held here in Lagos to open the National Stadium, 1973. He was the gold medal winner. He was Commonwealth champion. He was #1 contender for the light welterweight title. And then when he had to fight for it here in Lagos, it was here in Lagos. That boxing bout was produced by Josie International Promotions. That Kwara man, who was the owner of Glory brand of candles. Used to do Glory candles in those days. I think it was even after this, and the man's failed attempt to get Joe Lasisi to win the world title that we stopped hearing about him as a promoter. But Obisia was #1 contender for 2 years. When eventually he was allowed, he got the chance. He was overweight on the day of the fight. And he had to do a road walk.
I saw that against Saul Mambi.
Saul Mambi, the American. He had to do a road walk. How do you do a road walk on the day of your fight? But he had to, so that he can go for the weigh-in and come within the weight limit. So stressing yourself that much on the night of your fight was what stopped Obisia from winning. And it was not knocked out. It was still by points. By decision.
On points, yeah.
Yes, by
split decision.
Split decision.
Yeah.
That he lost it. So he was one of the greatest boxers that we had. Very skillful.
Yeah.
You know, so I pray that God grants him eternal rest, and I pray that we produce great boxers like we had in the 70s and the 80s. We don't have them anymore. So it's not only in the sense of the economy that Nigeria is declining. In sports, we are declining.
Of course,
when are we going to have even amateur boxers? We don't have good ones.
You make me remember
again. Like Koyengwachi, we don't have them. Davison Ande, the only Nigerian. Davison Ande is the only Nigerian to win a world amateur title.
Yeah.
Up to today, we are yet to win a world amateur title. Davison Ande is the most skillful boxer I've ever seen.
We had another boxer, Jonathan.
Yes, you know, it's just unfortunate.
Dele Jonathan.
It wasn't even as good as Obisia.
Now we lost Obisia. The later part of its years, he wasn't looking good. I think he had stroke. And then that's also what we talk about government, Nigeria rewarding most of our heroes.
Know, I was going to come like this. I say sometimes jokingly, I know only two Christians, Christian Madu and Christian Chuku. So when Chuku passed, the outpouring of emotions for him and so on.
You know, for Chuku, you can't take away from Chuku. You know, football is a universal.
It's the greatest spectator sport in the world.
When we are talking about Chuku, I was a primary school boy in 1980 when we won that first AFCON, the first. I cannot forget it. I watched it on black and white during that. It was something else. But talking about Obisia, and now remember we also had some greats, people like Peter Koyengwachi.
Yes.
That was Jeremiah Odudu. If you remember Jeremiah Odudu. Yes, these are some of the, and Jide rightly spoke about how, in fact, that fight, we thought it was going to be a walkover for Obisia, because prior to that fight, if you see all the fight he has had, he was excellent. Then after fighting, he went into coaching. He tried to produce a lot. Yes, he went into coaching. He tried to produce a lot of the bet. May God bless it. Then talking about Mike Ejeagha, that's a very. I think he died a very fulfilled man. He died a very fulfilled man. There's a saying in my place. Even before this few years ago that I started last year or so, if you talk in my place, it's generally in Igbo. And you say something, there's something you say, people just say, in a Mike Ejeagha. It was that man, it was that popular that what they say is that all the story where they tell us, So because he made his mark in folklore. He was not singing your usual folklore. Each and every lyric of his song made something. And so it was so philosophical. But good enough, as you said, at 95, I think it should be celebration of life rather than big loss to this thing. So they renovated his house, they tarred the road to his house, and he made some money. Just the last 1 year. I probably will tell you that practically all the money he made while singing, on digital, all the money he made while singing, I don't think he made it with what he had within such period. And so, but it's already.
You know, Mike Ejeagha reminds me of the late Okonkwo Adigwe. Okonkwo Adigwe had, Biko had a song rehashed by Ima Ogosi. Eba Welemdi. Eba Welemdi Yakano, where my luck is, you know. So essentially,
just like Celeste Noku, you know that we have some great
musicians of yesteryear. They sang about our weaknesses, our strengths, our failures, and so on.
And even unity.
That's it.
And they were very good. They could play the instruments. They could sing, they could compose, they could produce. You know, they had multiple talent. Today, you see artists, they can't even play the instrument.
But you know, the dictionary has come to help us. It says a musician is an artist who can play an instrument and sing. But many of them are studio singers. They are not instrumentalists.
You know, there's a big difference in the music industry now compared to when we were there. I remember my days as the artist manager of Sony Music. And we had some of the best. There are practically no artist under my label that Lagbaja, who was one of my artists, can play every instrument. People just think that is only sass. Forget it.
No.
He plays it. Shina Peters, people know him with guitar. But if you put him on drums now, you will see. So many. There's a different. What we have now.
Those are musicians.
This one, what we have now are artists. Well, just say, give me track one.
They rely totally now on
keyboard.
Okay.
Give me track one.
Synchronized.
And that is why, if you look at the music played by people like King Sunny Ade, Ebenezer Obey, and all the even Ike Dairos of Mr. It doesn't.
Do you know?
Forever.
Let me tease you a little, because I'm sure you remember this one. Alomo de Omela. That song will stay until the next century.
Of course.
Yes, no.
Of course.
And so on.
You need to listen to those lyrics.
Beki wa gunla, beki wa gundede. So you not play guitar here.
Just Hawaii guitar, you know, Hawaii guitar. You know, King Sunny Ade brought Hawaii guitar to Nigeria. You know. So and when you listen to Hawaii guitar, no.
It does remind me of Sir Victor Y4 too.
Oh yeah.
See, we've had artists.
The Y4, I remember sometime in Abuja, we went for an award. I was editor of PM News, and we won an award for Best Journal on the anniversary of P-Man. So when we got there, people were playing other people's songs, Chris Ajilo's songs and all that. You know, then they were playing. The young man who took his guitar was playing Y4 song. He didn't get. He didn't get the notes right.
Okay.
Y4 just mounted the stage, collected it.
Really?
Oh yeah.
When that song, if you say "Mami Water," he played it perfectly. The
Obviously.
notes were correct. I can never forget that day.
Wow. But you know, the backroom boys are telling me, make we not forget the man whose music was obeyed for many years, Ebenezer Obey.
That is what I said.
Yes,
I said it. I said that. You mentioned it now. I said
there will be other opportunities where we can talk about.
Those are legends.
You know the Kete Kete song. You know these are timeless songs.
Those where we do the next.
Okay, I beg. Let's go to the next story. You know the online